Township Committee, March 3rd, 2014. The notice requirements provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given by transmission to the Asbury Park Press, the Star Ledger, the Independent, and the Tour Times by posting at the Middletown Township Municipal Building and filing with the Township Clerk all on January 10th, 2014. Committeeman Fiore.
Here.
Committeeman Sal.
Here.
Committeeman Sharp.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sedembrino.
Here.
Mayor Murray. Here. Please rise for the pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to honor the troops serving worldwide defending our freedoms, institutions, and way of life. Thank you. The public hearing of proposed ordinances, we have first ordinance 2014-3102, ordinance establishing fees for various municipally sponsored promotional items, advertising, and sponsorships at various recreational venues and events.
Is there any member of the public wishing to speak to ordinance 2014-3102? Seeing no members of the public wishing to speak to this ordinance, I move to close and adopt.
Can I just ask a point of inquiry on this? Tony, before we vote, is this the ordinance with respect to like signs for new fields and things of that nature? So, I'm not sure if it actually has it in the ordinance, but can we also, if it doesn't, I don't know if it needs to be amended, what we need to do. I'd like to see that any, this goes, just make sure this goes for all new sponsored facilities, and that any, facilities that are currently used, Lincroft Little League may be using the field, MY may be using the field, that those are grandfathered in.
What we're doing is we're inventorying all the banners that we have on all the fields now, so we know what's in existence. This will only apply to anything new.
It could not apply retroactively, that's it.
Thank you.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Massell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sharpenberger.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedembrino.
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt this ordinance on second and final reading. Today we have ordinances for introduction, 2014-3104, an ordinance dissolving Middletown's Human Rights Commission.
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Massell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sharpenberger.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedembrino.
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries to introduce this ordinance on first reading with a public hearing scheduled for March 18, 2014. Our next ordinance, 2014-3105, an ordinance authorizing acquisition of certain interests in real property by negotiating purchase, condemnation, or eminent domain. Said properties being identified on the annex schedule on parcel maps, block 137, lots 2.01 and 2.06.
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Massell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sharpenberger.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedembrino.
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on first reading with a public hearing to be held March 18, 2014. Is it?
Is that a holiday?
Yeah, the
Yes.
18th.
It's a Tuesday.
Wait, what?
No, I'm sorry, it's a Monday.
No,
It's
so
Monday.
Monday the
Monday's
17th.
17th. That's
So
right.
it's
Monday's
not
17th.
three in a row like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was last month.
Both public
Sorry.
hearings will be held March
Sorry.
17th. Both of us are on the same.
That's a holiday
It
for
was
some
last-
people.
That's right, it is, it is.
My mother-in-law, yes.
My
Okay, so
husband.
3/17, it'll be advertised as 3/17/2014. At this time, I'd like to ask the Township Committee to adopt a consent agenda, which would include resolutions 14-98 through 14-105. Motion to adopt.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Massell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sharpenberger.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedembrino.
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt consent agenda. This time we have resolution 14-97, resolution authorizing payment of bills March 3rd, 2014.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Massell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sharpenberger.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedembrino.
Yes.
Mayor Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt resolution 14-97. On the agenda for March 17, 2014, we'll have certificates of appreciation and proclamations designating April 2014 as Autism Awareness Month, designating April 6th through 13th, 2014 as National Volunteer Week, and designating April 2014 as Alcohol Awareness Month. We'll have approval of minutes for December 2013, public hearing for proposed ordinances, the 2014-3103, an ordinance authorizing the use of certain properties with block 1014, lot 6, as shown on the tax map for perhaps. We'll have a consent agenda which will include resolutions, bingo and apples, and volunteer firefighter applications. And for discussion tonight, we have renewal of farmland preservation and the Middletown 350 anniversary.
I'd like to add for the attorney to, with the committee's consent, to put on the March 17th agenda a resolution supporting the energy aggregation. There's a few bills out there regarding, not energy aggregation, excuse me, the energy receipts tax, and a potential, there's a few Assembly and Senate resolutions to actually make that a referendum question for the voters to have a say as to whether the municipality should directly receive the energy receipts tax. So I would like, with the committee's approval, for the attorney to research and write resolutions in support of that initiative, because I believe energy receipts taxes are necessary. It is a cut that was made many years ago, I believe started by Governor McGreevey, that is completely unfair. I've spoken many times about this when I served as mayor in 2011 and 2012, and I further submit that this would be no different than the township collecting school taxes and not paying the school board the money they receive from the school taxes. It's exactly what's happening in concept with the energy suppliers paying the municipalities, but the state collecting it and not giving the appropriate amount back to the municipality. There's also going to be a tremendous amount of work that impacts Middletown with respect to substations and energy upgrades that JCP&L are going to be making with power lines, and these are things that have an impact on our community that we should be receiving the benefits. And I'll ask the committee if they would approve such a resolution in support of a referendum, because the governor clearly would just veto a Assembly and Senate passage.
I would like to see that also, without belaboring the point.
Sorry, I had to belabor it,
No,
so you guys-
go right ahead. It's only belaboring if I follow you up.
I believe the number's 4 million from just the numbers.
So just add to that, I know that as Committeeman Fiore has brought this up, the numbers are staggering with regard to the budget impact. You mentioned the number?
I
Just for the
believe, if
general
I
public.
remember, it was 4 million in 2011.
I think that was about 11, yeah.
I believe if you go back to when the state started their skim, it's probably north of 11 million from what I was doing. We can't continue to support that.
I'm going to jump back.
Yes, we're going backwards now. You want to do the renewal of farmland preservation?
I can provide some background for the committee. The Monmouth County Agricultural Development Board has asked the Township to introduce an ordinance and conduct a public hearing on the re-enrollment of the Cole Christmas Tree Farm on 520 in the municipally approved farmland preservation program back in 2000. The landowner had an ordinance adopted by the township where they agreed for a period of 8 years to continue farming the property, and in exchange we essentially agreed, and the county assured that there would be no zone changes to their property. The county can usually extend that period of time for farmland preservation automatically on an 8-year basis. However, there was some sort of change to the vesting deed in the property over the past year or so, so they can't just automatically extend that period of time. So they're asking the township to have another public hearing at this stage in those 14 years after the initial application, and extend and allow participation in the farmland preservation program for the period, at least the next 8 years, and they would probably be able to automatically extend that in years to come. They made a determination that this is a perfect example of farmland preservation, and that it's a producing property, it produces Christmas trees, and it's consistent with the state's agricultural development program. So there would be a public hearing pursuant to an ordinance that we could introduce probably at the regular meeting at the end of this month, on the 17th.
March 7th. Monday.
So it would be 8 years from the time we act again?
Yes, it would be 8 years, and assuming there's no change into a vesting deed in the subsequent years, the county would be able to automatically renew that on a periodic 8-year basis.
Everyone familiar with the property? The coal property is on 520.
It's a little over 5 acres, right next to Crop Acres.
Okay, we have the Middletown 350 anniversary.
Just wanted to briefly mention that we have the preliminary planning phase of a parade, which will be on June 21st. It will be leading up to the time capsule burial, so that's very exciting. We've been working with the Board of Ed and the schools and various groups around town to try to get things in that time capsule and something very lovely, reaching out to the community also for the parade. And that's also, there's also going to be, the Art Center will be having a big community birthday party for the township that day too, so just something to look forward to. Okay.
We have Township Committee comments.
All right, I'm going to go with committee member Cell tonight first.
Be brief, I'm sure you're going to want to come one of these, Mayor, but a couple of events we went to, the Preston Pensions breakfast, did I get that right?
Yes, yes, we did.
It was a great day, committee, I'm going to let the mayor elaborate more, but we served breakfast to folks coming in, and it was great awareness for breast cancer, and just a great event. Another event, again, I'll leave it there, though, was our governor's visit to the town hall meeting a couple weeks ago, which was, I think, a fantastic success. Mayor did a great job introducing. But it was just a great shot in the arm, and for the shore, I'll let you elaborate more. Thank you, that's all I have.
Thanks. Let's see. Committeeman Fiore tonight.
I like having an order.
I'd like to mix it up a little.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things. One of the action items that we took this evening, have to take further action on, is with respect to the Port Monmouth flood control project that this committee has fought so desperately hard for. It is good to see that the Army Corps and the federal government is getting the ball rolling. There's a few procedural things that obviously we've had to do with respect to that, and we'll continue to do that. But the flood control project in Port Monmouth is not only a necessity with respect to flood insurance and flood rate issues, but also will have a tremendous impact on the community for any future, storms, any normal tidal flooding that can happen at the drop of a moon or whatever changes, or a wind changing direction there, as Ted and Tony can attest to. And I know we've been doing everything we can in piecemeal, but I really look forward to the next few years and that project going to completion. With respect to Sandy and Port Monmouth, also North Middletown, for those who may have seen, seems like a long time ago, but it was probably just about a month or so ago, where through the leadership of the committee and the administration, we have really helped to stem the tide with regards to the flood issue in North Middletown, having a new study being done that may create a new zone for the residents of North Middletown who did not receive any flood damage, but have received potential tens of thousands of dollars in flood insurance bills. So combined with the Port Monmouth project and the North Middletown levy that held strong during Sandy and the pump system, I am very confident in the future of our Bay Shore as we continue to try to fortify and beautify and restore our gem of the Bay Shore from North Middletown, Ruling and Arno. That's the only other thing I'm going to mention is, thank goodness we did not get 14 inches of snow today, so we would all not be sitting here, I'm sure, but we caught a little break about that, but there hasn't been much break, as the CFO can attest to, with regards to snow removal costs of 13 events of 4 inches or more. So I will leave you with that, Mayor. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff.
Okay, we caught one break, 13 times we didn't catch a break. So just we're
1 out of 14 is not bad, I
We're
guess.
always few. But just a few things. The Breast Intentions was a lot of fun. We were guest waiters and waitresses. And I am going to be over-tipping every waiter and waitress from now on. Everything went wrong, from my pen skipping to walking in the outdoor in the kitchen. But it was a lot of fun, and it was a good cause, so we really had a nice time. And the town hall with the governor was great. I thought he did a great job. And it went well. There was no outbursts or anything, and I think we were all relieved with that. And the other thing I want to say is March 29th, I'm part of the 350.
That's right.
Where I give a talk on the Old First Church at the Middletown Arts Center. And kids pay a lot of money to hear this at Monmouth University, so you get to hear it for free. And it's, I think, 10 a.m. So, and I expect everybody at this table to be here.
Everybody will be there.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. So just the two comments to follow my colleagues' comments. Again, the Breast Intentions, we were all there, and one thing that I won't be doing anytime soon is being a waiter at a restaurant. I can't balance the plates on my arm, but it was great fun. Secondly, with regard to the governor's visit, it's important to note that this is the first visit, first town hall meeting of the governor's second term. So it's important that he selected Monmouth County and Middletown to begin the second term on a great note. So we're certainly grateful for that, bringing to the attention the great things that are happening here in Middletown and Monmouth County. And that being said, Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you. We've already talked about the Breast Intentions in the town hall, so I think that's perfect for the record. I think we have that in there for the future generations to read back on one day. So, but I would echo everyone's sentiments. I am also glad we dodged the bullet with the weather today, and I am very much looking forward to the 350, and I was glad we were able to talk about that a little tonight. One thing I do want to remind everybody at the table and everybody out here, we have our app ready now, so you can download it on the Apple platform or the Droid platform. So I recommend everybody get it. And that's all I have for the evening, so I guess we're going to move to public comments. Okay. It's 5 minutes, right? Okay, so we're going to move to the public portion. You're going to get 5 minutes each person. You have to state your name and address for the record. And is there anyone from the public wishing to speak?
I'd like to speak. Hi,
Hi.
members of the committee. My name is Rudolph DeVito. I live on 333 Chapel Hill Road. And as you all know, an application has been made by the Trinity School to get site plan approval for their project. And we have a Chapel Hill neighborhood group that we are forming, has been formed, and we have not retained council. However, we have organized, and we have quite a few people that are against this for going, because of safety reasons only, not because we're anti-development. No one came when there were 20 homes approved there to really dissent. But the traffic there is one of the most dangerous streets in Middletown, and policemen will tell you that, public works people will tell you that, and the accident reports for the past 3 years from the police department will tell you that. From the Chapel Hill, Oak Hill corner, where it intersects Chapel Hill Road, it's about 1.5 miles to Kings Highway, 143 accident reports Okay, so it's an unsafe road now. It's very narrow. Over that little bridge, it's 18 feet. I measured it Sunday. And being that the Trinity School only needs site plan approval, no variances because of the archaic conditional use that in the past has been given when the master plans have been developed for townships. I guess nobody ever thought there would actually be a school there someday, because Chapel Hill Road is not adequate for 500 students plus faculty and staff twice a day and any other events. If you have the slightest thing like garbage pickup, recycling, or brush, it's a total traffic jam. If you have a funeral, you can't get by. You wouldn't be able to get EMTs by there, okay? So we're putting kind of I think it's a square peg in a round hole, okay? That's my opinion. Our neighbors feel the same way. And so far, the testimony from the past 2 meetings has totally been dominated by the applicant. The last meeting, only the applicant and their group speaks. Our group is out in the hallway, okay? And we're gonna have double those many people as last time. So I would like to ask if there's a way that we can either have a hearing, have this hearing somewhere where all our taxpayers and citizens can at least hear what's going on. You can't see the props, there are no TV screens where the people in the lobby can be a part of this. And yet the people that don't even live in this town that are forcing this, and they're so blinded because for whatever reason they want this school, okay? Sure, it's a Catholic traditional school, not sanctioned obviously, but they're really looking to hurt our neighborhood, and we don't even get a chance to be in the room, okay? I heard they get pizza and they come in at 5 o'clock and taking our seats. I don't think that courtroom should be open until 10 minutes before it starts, that's number one. Or we could find another place where all of us can participate and not be stonewalled. Okay, that's all I'm asking for. And I think, I'm not the leader of this group, but this is my heartfelt opinion, and I think if I hear how you care about Middletown, well, let's care about Chapel Hill Road and our neighbor. We got 25-foot lanes. All it was about on-site safety of the students. How about the off-site safety that we're not responsible for because it's a conditional use, okay? So in other words, they have 25-foot lanes on the property, drive lanes. We got 18, 19-foot road that's going to feed those students. Let's be realistic, and I just want everybody to understand that, this is a very important thing to us. And it just doesn't affect the people on Chapel Hill Road. It affects everybody because it's a pass-through road. It's not a destination road. It never was, and I don't think it ever will be. Okay? So that's the way I feel, and if there's any way that we can make accommodations so everyone can be, at least have to ask a question, or to hear what's going on, if that is a possibility, then maybe we can have it at the VFW.
Somebody visited me this week, and they brought up the exact same concerns that you had, that they were having trouble getting into the room, and the room was open for us.
But I thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Take my 5 minutes.
First of all, thank you for your comments, sir. And one thing that we definitely have to look for is with regard to the venue. When I sat at I want to make comments without specific regard to the application.
I understand.
Obviously, we can't do that. I can't do that as well.
I understand and respect that.
So, a couple things. Number one, I want to make sure that you understand that there are always unrestricted points in time, one on a per witness basis, another on an end of application basis, that you as an individual attendee to the meeting, right, have the ability to speak. One with comment to the witness, other with general comment. So there is no point in time that anyone in the room will be denied the ability to speak on a per witness or a per application basis. So I want to reassure you of that, and that's procedural. Okay? So there's no point in time that if you want to speak on the application based on something a witness said or based on something, or based on any part of the application, you will have the ability to do that, and you cannot be denied that, okay?
Even if you're in the lobby or you can't get into the place?
So let me address that as well. You know, I got there maybe 5 or so minutes before the meeting, and it was standing room. So, you know, we can speak with the council and see if there are other venues that still meet the requirements. The meeting still has to be recorded, okay? So we have to see if we can meet all the statutory obligations. There were people in the hall, we need to make sure that they can hear and listen and answer questions. So I think that's a great point. We're going to try to get that addressed for the upcoming meeting. But you know, I just want to let you know that at no point in time will anyone be denied the ability to get this.
The other issue, Mayor, is that if you're not the only application that evening, it's hard to move the meeting from the courtroom. So if there's another applicant, they have to have notice, they have to have, you know, recording ability. So that's the only, unless it's a special meeting.
It has to be done well in advance.
Yeah, it has to be
because
way
you
advanced,
can't-
yeah.
You have to renotice everything if you move the location, you can't do it that night.
So that's the other challenge, but we'll definitely.
Let me reach out to council for the planning board and see if we can potentially look for other accommodations, because those meetings are on a special night, so chances are
If
that.
it's a special
It's a
thing.
special meeting, and so chances are that may be the only one for that.
Right, but I've also, you know, I'm aware of many times if it's a very controversial thing, most other venues, another attorney may realize that he might be there till 10 o'clock till he's going to be heard. So they usually postpone it to a night when they're not in conflict with a lot of this stuff.
Well,
too.
this particular application, it will be the only thing on the agenda for
I just
special
think
case.
a lot of testimony still to be heard.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anyone else?
My theory, I live right across the street from where this is being planned. And I actually was going to say a lot of what Rudy said. 305 Chapel Hill Road. Just about the inadequacy of what happened. My sister was one who fell twice in the back of she wasn't in the room, she didn't have a seat. She's got cerebral palsy, and I heard her crutches go, and I just knew. And it was, you know, the floor was all sandy from people coming in from outside, so if we could have a bigger space, it'd be nice. But the other thing, you know, unless you're right up in the front, you can't see the things that they're showing, so it's hard to know really what they're talking about. So I don't know if there's any way to fix that at all, like have the things up front, you know, like when they were changing, well, that the architect had the drawings of what changes they were making to the application. Nobody in the back can see it.
Nobody but you guys can see.
One thing that I'm also going to, and that's a great suggestion, thank you. One thing I'm also going to suggest to council, that he reach out to the applicants and all of the Brian, help me out, all of the exhibits, thank you. All the exhibits potentially can be made into PDFs and projected on the screen.
That would be
behind,
great.
so at least
It's
you
kind
can
of hard to
see it.
follow a little bit.
I think that could be easily accommodated.
Okay. And yes, yeah, I know we can't talk too much about, we can't talk about the specific application, but I guess from a personal standpoint and just like generally, if your property goes to the road and they're going to widen the road in that area, the township owns a certain, they can do that, right?
Right.
Even if like with cutting down trees and that. And then that was probably, there was an environmental commission had a report, I guess, about the application. And is that available to us as well? Because I know.
I can step in real quick, just and speak to your prior comment as well. Any of the materials are available in the planning office to review.
Even that one?
Even that, especially that.
No,
So
that's from the, okay.
that would be something that.
The Oprah request for that?
Yeah, you could either get a copy of it through an Oprah request, or you can view it in our office. That's
Okay.
on an issue right on 3 Penelope Lane.
And would all the new drawings also be up in the office? The ones that they
Anything
submitted
that's
at the last
been
meeting?
revised and anything that's been submitted as an exhibit so far, we would have in our office. So anybody can come take a look at that whenever they would like.
Okay. I think that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public? Yes, ma'am.
I'm not as good as Rudy. I get very nervous talking in front of people, so I wrote down what I wanted to say. But my name is Barbara Amadeo, and I live at 7 Tilton Road. Let's see. There's many reasons why I'm against the school being built down the block from my home, but my main concern is traffic and safety. After their own study a few years ago, the Middletown Board of Education deemed my corner, which is Tilton and Chapel Hill, too dangerous for a bus stop. And now the buses come into my development, which has no sidewalks. And according to the Board of Education, there's 48 bus routes that on Chapel Hill Road and Kings Highway East during the hours of 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. because there's 48 active bus routes, which was never mentioned by Trinity, by anyone. So I want to know how there can be a minimal impact on the neighborhood if their student drop-off is from 7:30 a.m. to 8:15, and they don't think it's going to interfere with these bus routes at all. They said that if it looks like traffic is impacted too much, that they can look into changing the speed limit. That would then impact all 48 other bus routes because the times would now have to be changed. Kids would be waiting at different times, and all of that's established before the school year begins, so I'm not sure how they would fix that. Trinity also states that 75% of their students would be bused in, but right now none of their students are old enough to drive. So I don't think that's going to be the case for much longer. If you look at, north and south, most of those kids drive back and forth to school. I know mine did, The school doesn't just impact traffic on those two roads. Once a bottleneck occurs on Chapel Hill Road, there will be cars cutting through Comanche Drive in order to get by. There'll be a major impact on the Crestview Drive development, which also has several bus stops and kids walking to school, with even more cars cutting through to avoid the light. It will make the Chapel Hill Road jug handles on both sides of 35 nearly impossible to navigate, and I'm not even going to get into Stavola Road. Their study also mentions after-school activities, but it makes it seem as if everyone's going to be leaving the school. If they want to build such a great campus, surely they plan to hold their own events there. And anyone who's been to something as simple as a North basketball game knows what a nightmare that is, and our residential area can't handle that. These roads, like many in the area, were not built for high traffic, yet that's what's happened. Chapel Hill Road has had numerous accidents, some fatal. Less than a month ago, an adult driver lost control and took down a utility pole, and there's no way a 19-foot road can handle all that traffic. Just making it wider in front of the school isn't enough. I've done my research, and I want to point out something that Trinity Hall states on its own website. They say that they look forward to being good neighbors and surrounding our campus, our permanent campus. We respect the commitment of those who live in the Chapel Hill area to their neighborhood, and should they wish to speak directly to us, we welcome a conversation about our plans. So if this is indeed the case, then I think they need to be honest and let everybody know publicly that there's no chance of townhomes or a rock quarry being built on the site, because that's what their petition states.
Not zoned for that.
I know, but the problem is, the petition that they've circulated, that they have 3,000 signatures on, some from Hawaii, by the way, it's saying that they're opposed to this because it could be townhomes or a rock quarry. Exactly, we know that that's not true either, but that's what they're
There's also a
saying.
sign that says our tax dollars are going toward that, and they're not.
Right,
So, there's all kinds of misinformation out there.
right, that's what I'm saying, so we need, but that's exactly my point, like, somebody needs to, I know you guys can't.
Yeah, I know, and we can listen, and
Right, no,
believe me,
I
we
get
wanna
that,
know what
but
you
that's
guys
the
think.
problem, there's so many rumors that are going around, I mean, I walk around with like the little buttons and people are like, oh, and, well, it's gonna be this, and, and what do you mean it's gonna be a rock quarry? And they say, well, that's what we signed the petition for. So I don't understand, like, somebody needs to go on record then and just say, no, this isn't, it's definitely not gonna be, we can't tell you, what it will be, but it's definitely not gonna be that, like, that's just not.
Look, this is why planning board meetings happen. You have to go to the planning board meetings and ask those questions and listen to what you're told. It's not zoned for townhouses, it's not zoned for affordable housing, it's not zoned for a rock quarry. Now, could somebody request to do that in the future? There's no way anyone could prevent somebody from requesting it, right?
Right.
So when somebody says it could be, well, it could be almost anything you could imagine. Right now, it's not, those things aren't allowed there. But, so no one can say publicly, guarantee something will never happen in the future. There is no way of knowing that. All we can tell you is what it's zoned for now, what's allowed to be there now, and deal with the applications before the planning board. Speculating and rumors is just, really creating a lot of controversy that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, and that's what's happening now.
Yeah, but you're asking people to say definitely it won't ever be townhouses. Well, no one can say that either.
Okay.
All we can tell you is, right now what's allowed is houses, and a school, and a few other, residential type uses.
Okay. Thanks.
Mayor, may I
Yes,
just-
sure.
Yeah, I appreciate the comments from you, and, I understand the concern, and I know we can't speak on the application, but I just want to say what we can say, or what I can say. And, to the mayor's point about some of the things that, whether, there's rumor and innuendo about rock quarries or what the township's position is or not. But let me just be clear that you can take back to the community. First, we did not, the township committee, the township administration has had absolutely zero to do with Trinity Hall picking this or any location for a campus. So let me be clear about that, okay? So whether it's tax dollars going towards, I've seen the sign myself. So that's first. Number two, with regards to our lease agreement with Trinity Hall, with respect to Croydon Hall over in Leonardo, that was something that they had actually sought us out, not us actually seeking them out, okay? So, there are no agreements with the township committee, with the township administration as to that lease agreement and a permanent campus in Middletown. Never, when that agreement, which I was presided as mayor, that agreement in 2012, I believe it was, when it took place, never was there any supposition that they would even make their permanent house, if they wanted to, or their permanent location in Middletown. They did not come to us at that time with any location at all. And they, at the time, were looking in, from my recollection, Homedale and other, Colts Neck.
That's not what they say on their website.
Sir, let me finish. Whether what they're saying on their website or what it is, I'm telling you what it is from the township's perspective. So we can't comment on the application, okay, and nor can I, but I can assure you that there was no township intervention with their plans, with their, location, or, the only thing that they have, like any other land user, they have the right to an application. Similar to, as much as I didn't like it, or the community didn't like it, similar to Four Ponds in Lincroft, if they wanted to, when they wanted to build, or they want to build housing on Abaya, they have the right to an application. Everyone has the right to an application. We cannot stop an application, and that's what the planning board is, and that's, the jurisdiction they have, and why we can't comment on planning board issues. So I just want to, help you rest assured that whatever innuendo or things you're hearing with respect to the township as a macro level player in this case, not true.
Can I ask a question? I don't know if you're allowed to comment, or if it feeds into the rumor. I'll ask the question if you can. No, I understand Crossroads used to be over there.
We can answer after. I mean, I think your time is kind of up.
Okay.
But I'll stay after with you if you like. We'll be done in a few, and
No
I'm happy
problem.
with
Move to
questions.
some more.
Gotcha.
Okay. Anybody else from the public wishing to make a comment? Sure.
Hi, I'm Julie Donahue. I live at 631 Kings Highway East, and I will repeat, or I'm in agreement with the folks that have spoken so far in my concerns about Trinity Hall moving in. Specifically on Kings Highway East, I'm worried about the traffic impact for me as well. I've spoken, I think, from Chapel Hill. I live in the Landmark District now. My house is 16 feet, I think, from the road. And I think this feeds into the tax dollars, or what you're seeing about people concerned about tax dollars. We don't believe the traffic study that they've done. We think it's going to be a lot more traffic there. The road will have to be widened more than just for the driveway that goes into Trinity Hall, that eventually Chapel Hill will have to be widened. There will have to be a light going in at Kings Highway East and Chapel Hill, and frankly, that's right in the middle of the, or at the end of the Landmark District, that now you have the traffic light in your Landmark District, and if you try to widen Kings Highway East, you're going to be in basically in my living room. So I think the tax dollar impact that people are concerned about are the infrastructure tax strains that will occur. Sewer is another one that has come to mind. I don't know how Trinity Hall fits into the sewer system, but I know I can't get on the sewer, and we were basically told to bugger off when we called and asked if we ever could be on the sewer. So Trinity Hall will receive services that I, as a taxpayer, cannot receive here in Middletown. So our concerns are about the drain that Trinity Hall will do on the infrastructure of that neighborhood as well.
Anybody else from the public wishing to make a comment? Yes.
John Schwabel from Hamilton Avenue, Leonardo. I was wondering when ordinance 2014-3104 will be available to the public to look at it.
It'll be online tomorrow.
It'll be online, so it's available online?
Or you can call my office and I'll give you that.
Yeah. Okay, good. Tomorrow. Yeah, that's good. Also, in line with that resolution that calls for the dissolution of the Human Rights Commission, I think it's appropriate for the 350th anniversary of Middletown to take a look at the history of Middletown and its minorities and how they've been represented on the Human Rights Commission. So I plan to speak on that at least when the ordinance is introduced, like looking at the Clinton Chapel and the Heath Farm and the representation that minorities have had on the Human Rights Commission. And I'd really like to see some valid reasons for having it dissolved. Minorities have had a long history in the township, and they've been an integral part of Middletown, from the the Clinton Chapel to the hillside area, and people from both of those areas have been former chair people of the Middletown Human Rights Commission. So in line with the 350th anniversary, maybe the members of the commission should take a look at that history before they take any rash actions. Secondly, just the Trinity School thing. I hope there's plans to improve Chapel Hill Road all the way from Highway 35 to Kings Highway, and not just improve it by the entrance to the school, because Chapel Hill Road is in horrible shape, and especially after this winter, there's more and more potholes. It's been bad for years and years. Traffic has to go in the opposite lane, if at all possible, to avoid the holes and the bumps. There's a bad area that goes downhill from 35 to Whipple Road there. It's a very bad road, and I assume because of the school there'll be a lot more traffic from Highway 35 also, all the way up to the school. I really think that whole road ought to be improved, or at least paved, because it's in horrible shape. I avoid it on my bicycle because it's really impassable. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. Carolyn Schwabel, Hamilton Avenue in Leonardo. I'm not clear, where was the meeting on Trinity Hall? Was that in the
Courtroom, yes.
In this building?
Yes.
Because I'm wondering if I know you want to get everybody in there, and everybody has a right to hear, and when they're in that room, there is assisted listening, which is not available out in the hallway. But I'm wondering, how about a nice venue like where the governor came, or one of the high schools which is nearby, so you can fit anybody in. But I also want to say, in terms of, it sort of segues with the Human Rights Commission, the woman, I think, my hearing's not great, but her sister had a problem in the outside area. And I think, I'm surprised none of the committee members, I don't think they mentioned that in the front row, and it took us years to get it, there is seating for people with disabilities, so she could have been right up front and not getting knocked over or falling over or whatever. But that might be something you'd want to publicize a little bit more. They're just a little wheelchair on the seat. And other times, other people do sit there. I don't know how it's being managed, but there is other alternatives. We can talk more. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public?
I'm sorry. Is my 5 minutes up yet? I forgot to say that is an issue that the Human Rights Commission could have addressed, the concern on the disability seating and so on.
It's an issue the Township Committee can address also, right now.
Okay, any other members of the public wishing to make a comment?
I said it's an issue that now that's been brought to our attention, we can address also right now.
Okay, what is it?
Anyone else?
Say it again.
Okay, seeing no members of the public wishing to make comment, I move to close public portion and adjourn.
Committeeman Fury. Committeeman South.
Yep.
Committeeman Sharper.
Yes.
Yes.
We are